This is the Flabbergasted podcast, where we just can't believe you haven't seen it. Every episode, we discuss a movie that one of us has seen and the other hasn't. Follow us on Instagram @FlabberPod and subscribe in your podcast app of choice. I'm your host, Jessica. Let's get to it. So we are talking about one of my, I feel like very comfortable saying one of my favorite movies.
Wow.
And
no pressure.
I probably am not going to be able to really articulate why I like it so much, but let's try. It's The Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat. This is a 2014 science fiction movie. Runtime is 1 hour and 53 minutes. It's written by Christopher McQuarrie, directed by Doug Liman, who also directed The Bourne Identity and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, 2 movies I also enjoy. It is based, I don't know if I want to say based on, inspired by, derived from the novel All You Need Is Kill by Hiroshi Sakuruzaka. I'm not going to say that right, but it's Sakurazaka.
Yeah. Sakuruzaka.
And it is PG-13. A soldier fighting aliens gets to relive the same day over and over again, the day restarting every time he dies.
Gets to is a fun way to phrase that.
Yeah.
It's his privilege and honor.
So what did you know about this movie?
I did not know much about this movie. I think I had spent the last 10 years confusing it with a different movie that's even older, in which they lived on a sky ship of some kind. I don't know why, but I didn't really know. I didn't fully realize it was a Groundhog Day movie to the extent that it is. I didn't know a lot about it. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Tom Cruise films.
Okay. I have questions for you, so I'm pretty curious about how you went into that. But I remember I did see this movie in theaters with my sister and my husband, who I don't think was my husband at the time. Fun fact. But it was super late.
10 years ago?
Yeah, super late. I was really excited to see it. And I remember that neither of them really liked it very much. This is very disappointing. But anyway, saw it in the theater. There was nothing like crazy about the way it opens up, except they do a lot of the opening titles with this exposition of like the news stories and everything. And I wondered, because we just came off Parasite, where you were talking about it was a very show, don't tell type of movie, how you felt about that.
My second note is that I'm not sure that this counts as show don't tell, because it's kind of just telling. There are some videos, but they're like an asteroid, mimics. I like the newsreel stuff. I think I like the newsreel stuff. I liked that the like image quality, and like they were talking like they really would in a real newsreel like that. But it was so quick. You didn't even get 10 seconds with one newscaster. It was 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, 3 seconds, just like flip, to different ones, which is a little jarring, but I thought it was pretty good.
Do you think it helped like set the tone, the jarringness? Did you get anything out of it, or were you,
what I got out of it was Tom Cruise being a marketing guy. He's a spinster. He's the face of the military, getting up there and making the statements, him and Mad-Eye Moody. So that kind of like set the tone for like what their characters were supposed to be like a little bit. Like, this is a skill that he has.
Okay, yes. What did you think about that first interaction with the general? Like when he's like, you're going to be on the front lines tomorrow, and he's like, I don't know about that.
I thought it was going to be played off more jokey than it got. Like, it got super serious. It got to him just like full on, I mean, blackmail isn't exactly the right word, but more threatening.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to purposely not do my job well. It got to that, and I thought it was going to be more like, that's the front lines. That doesn't sound like me. Like, just sort of. But I mean, it's the military, so you got to do it. You got to do the thing.
Yeah.
And what I realized later on was that he plays, there's that Mad-Eye Moody, Brendan Gleeson plays the same strategy at the beginning and then at the end, where he's like, oh yeah, okay, fine, you can have the thing you want, and then lets them leave and then has them arrested. Like he does the same thing when he gives them the transmogrifier. And that's
Yes.
kind of fun.
Yes, I do love that. So I something that came as a total surprise to me, he gets ordered to go to the front lines and Bill Paxton's there. You don't know
Bill
who
Paxton's at the front lines?
not at the front lines, but he gets off, he's on the bags sleeping and he gets woken up right, he's getting sent out and Bill Paxton's the new sergeant.
Oh, Farrell?
Yeah.
That's Bill Paxton, the president from Independence Day?
No, that's Bill Pullman.
Oh, okay.
Bill Paxton's
Who's Bill Paxton?
from Twister.
Not seen it.
You haven't seen that. What else? Aliens.
Not seen it. There's Aliens Independence Day.
There are aliens in Independence Day. That is correct. Anyways, Bill Paxton, that was a surprise for me. I recognize him from different movies. So back when I watched this originally, I was like, what is he doing in this movie? I had no idea he was in here.
I was trying to recognize those guys at boot camp and I couldn't quite place them in anything, and they're kind of supposed to be nobodies, I think. So I think it was good casting.
Yeah, I think so.
I have a couple of things before we get there. Okay. Exactly. Yeah. The first one being Mimic is really the name we're going with for the aliens. Sometimes it's a little bit too like glossed over, just like by half. Like, okay, we're calling them Mimics. Like that's stupid. Why? I thought I was like, oh, it's gonna be them aping our battle style and like able to like tell what we're gonna do. And they didn't really get into that. They're just kind of like, there's these giant tentacle monsters and they're called Mimics. Like, okay. Also, Verdun. So they kept talking about Verdun, the Battle of Verdun, where Emily Blunt had. She was the angel of Verdun. She killed all those mimics and stuff. So did you know that Verdun was the site of one of the biggest war zone like trench battles in World War I?
Did not.
So that's like a very famous. So it was interesting to me that they went to France and placed the battle that they keep going back to. That's like Normandy, right? That's storming the beaches. So there's that parallel into World War II. And then there's World War I with millions of soldiers died, like whole thing at Verdun. Kind of like the Somme. Those are like some of the big World War I battles. And I noticed that and I was like, interesting.
I did watch a thing with the director last night and I don't necessarily know if I want to say was like a World War II buff. So
sure.
I think he purposely was like, this is my chance to pull those things that I like about the World War movies like into my movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely noticed some of those homages.
So good catch there. So we get his first day on the beach and you have this buildup, like you know who Rita Vertowski is. And you're like, okay.
Why is her name Rita Vertowski? She's just a British lady. As far as I can tell. She's just Emily Blunt. She's not Eastern European. His name is Bill Cage. And I was like, okay, all right. His last name's Cage. Sure.
So, but you get this, I don't know why, I don't know anything about her origins. We don't ever really learn that. But we get this scene with her and she gets blasted in the back and dies. And I was wondering if you were like, what is happening here that this lady that they built up and
she's supposed to be super
gone.
lady. Yeah. I did immediately think she's supposed to be super lady. Is this part of her plan? Because she didn't even seem like she was trying that hard to not die.
Yeah.
I don't know. She didn't seem like she was exerting the full extent of what powers I assumed she had.
Did you think like she was going to have special powers at that point in the movie? Like,
yes. So during the newsreels, they had talked about the Angel of Verdun. They kept saying with these new jackets and limited training, she was able to do this. They used that phrasing like three times.
Yeah.
But they'd said super soldiers. So I thought that they were that she was like the first prototype of a clone, or there'd been some kind of serum or something like that.
Okay.
Because the jacket hadn't really clicked yet with like that being an aspect of it. And honestly, if we could skip to the end, I'm not really sure what the point of their mech suits was. They could have filmed the entire thing without the mech suits being a thing. And I don't think would have been that different, but it feels like they were just like, well, it would be cooler if they were all wearing mech suits, right? Like I don't know what the significance of them. It's not like by the end, like all the climactic scenes, a lot of them, they weren't wearing them because they ran out of batteries. So I guess it's just giving him a thing to learn how to operate to show that he's getting better at soldiering.
I think they needed them to keep up with the mimics because they're so fast.
Yeah, right. In the context of this world, they did, but you didn't have to write it that way.
That's true. The aliens could have just been not
slightly slower, and then we could have just been running around in regular combat suits. So I wasn't sure kind of what the point, because they don't make them faster. They just make you stronger.
I think they do make them a little bit faster.
They're really ka-chunking along if it's making them faster. Ka-chunk, ka-chunk, ka-chunk.
I think in the running is what I was thinking.
Also, then at one point, they're carrying normal pistols, like Glocks.
Yeah.
They have the machine guns in their arms that do not have much ammo. I'm going to tell you that right now. They are needing to reload on the regular.
Yeah.
There's a lot of reloading occurring in a way that doesn't seem entirely efficient. But then sometimes they have regular pistols. And
then they have the arms that come out of the head, out of the back, and like blast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. And that has your little mini like grenade launcher, that type of stuff.
Yes. It's like, I was going to make reference, but it would be to a movie you haven't seen. So I'm going to hold it until you've seen it.
Their suits don't protect them against the mimics. There's no specific anti-mimic stuff that's coming out of them. It just makes them stronger people as far as I could tell. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Ooh, here's a question that I have. We get to the base. Black Sergeant is kicking him and calling him a maggot. And I'm like, wasn't he just on TV a bunch? Wasn't this specific guy just all over the airwaves doing military propaganda? So how does no one recognize him?
I don't know how long he was on doing all of these shows, but Bill Paxton does say that they locked down the communications.
I don't buy that. Oh, so because they're in T-minus 8 hours to D-Day mode.
Yeah.
I think he had been on for a couple. I mean, it's a press tour. He'd been pushing this stuff. How long ago was Verdun supposed to have been? I assumed at least like 2 weeks.
I'm not sure. I don't know that they ever actually say that. But that's the other thing. I feel like they would very much control what comes in from the outside world to like news channels and stuff. Like
maybe
they're controlling all of your time. You don't have time to sit around and watch TV.
He wasn't even the outside world though. He works for the military and these guys are in the military.
He works for the military, spinning it to get people to enlist.
And my guy, Bill Paxton, isn't a little bit suspicious of these orders he's been given. Hey, there's a guy that's going to wake up who's going to be wearing officer clothes and claim to be an officer, but really he's lying the whole time, no matter what he says. You get those instructions, you're like, okay, sounds good. Like, how would he have officer clothes if he wasn't an officer?
I think you're thinking about it too much. You would think that, but you would never act on it in that situation.
I mean, I would never be from Science Hill, Kentucky, I guess.
But you would also,
that's part of it.
First of all, if the general's the kind of guy that's going to demote you and give you orders to basically invalidate your entire existence, if you know that about him, you're also not going to stand up to him in other areas. So if the sergeant knows the kind of person he is, he's like, I'm not getting into that. I'm just going to follow my orders and do my thing.
He's very much a guy that's about following orders and doing your thing.
Yeah.
My last thing is that I immediately got a little bit of like, okay, we've got all the militaries of the world on the same side because we're fighting aliens. Like, it's just such a classic conceit of like, don't worry about it. Listen, they're aliens and that's bad. So like, it's fine to kill them a bunch. So that does a couple of things because it gets all of the militaries together and lets you know from the very beginning, this is not a movie about conflict between races of humans or anything like that. It's about fighting aliens, and it's okay to kill them because they're aliens.
Yes.
So it's easy. It's very no questions asked, good versus evil.
It lets you suspend all disbelief about would we ever be able to unite in
Right.
such a way.
Right. Absolutely. And so that actually helped me believe the him falling through the cracks about getting demoted and being a deserter, because this clearly is a somewhat ramshackle, like we're trying to plug all these militaries together, and they're always spinning up a new person, barely training them at all. It made that stuff more realistic that might have otherwise been less realistic to me.
So he dies on the beach day 2.
He does. Before that, actually, maybe my favorite scene of the movie is the first time they're in the mechs and he keeps trying to ask about his safety. I didn't understand the significance of that. He just keeps asking about it.
Because he doesn't know where it's at.
Yes.
So he can't turn it off to shoot.
I understand why you would want your safety off, but they really showed him a bunch of times asking. I also don't get why they wouldn't just tell him.
Because they didn't want him to accidentally shoot them.
But also he might be able to save their lives.
Yeah, they're not. They're like, that's not likely to happen.
Then you can't put him in the mech. You can put him on dishwashing duty.
Yeah.
But the first time they're walking to the helicarrier, they're all ka-chunking, and then he sees the helicarrier and just doesn't say anything, just turns 30 degrees and starts ka-chunking off slowly. And they're like, Griff, wait, Cage, no, stop, where are you going? And you don't see it again. It is not addressed, but it's just showing us that like every fiber of his being wants to not be doing the thing that he is being told to do. Yeah,
he's definitely in survival mode and flight mode, I would say.
Yeah. I don't like the helicarrier thing that they're in. These drop line things. Yeah. It's stupid. There's no, it's so much more likely to go wrong than it is to go right. We're going to hang all the soldiers from cords. And how do you snap those? Was there a second mechanism to release the cord after you've released yourself down to the ground?
I'm sure there was, but they don't show us. Like we didn't get a scene of them really specifically doing it.
Yeah. I don't know. I
think it was really problematic because the helicarrier got hit, which spun it out a little bit, which created the less than ideal dropping circumstances. Yeah. But it's war. You should expect that.
Yeah. We keep smooshing naked guy with the helicarrier when it drops.
Which is one of like those funny dying
recurring
tropes, if you will. Yeah. Where he's like, woo, we're here. Bam. Squash.
So I have a note about it kind of being infuriating that he's wearing. I mean, how much do you think his equipment costs? 40 grand?
I don't know, but that was definitely something I was like, why would you put this guy who doesn't know how to use the suit into it? And knowing what we can draw from conclusions, military technology costs a lot.
It's so much. Which is artificially inflated to prop up the military industrial complex, and we get that, but still.
And we're saying that it's not worth it to properly train you to use this super expensive equipment. What are we saying about like how disposable we think you are?
Right. Can I get 20 minutes? Can my guy get 20 minutes on how to set his settings to English and where the safety is?
Yeah.
Just how to shoot the guns? Any of it?
Where the safety is, yeah.
They don't leave out till 6 a.m. and it's clearly at latest mid-afternoon when he wakes up. So there is time. They do PT, but when you have a brand new recruit, you got to run him through 45 minutes of using this during that time frame. It doesn't make any sense.
Okay, so I feel like we're still on day 1. He dies.
We're still on day 1, for sure. I'm still on day 1.
I'm just making sure.
So here's what I want to know. How long would it take you to realize you're in a Groundhog Day situation?
I have that as a note. I don't know, but I feel like he accepted it. Day 2, he's like, okay, this is what's happening. He's processing. Day 3, I feel like he accepted.
Yeah, day 2 is when he's doing the crazy screaming, convincing people. And day 3, he's like, I have to use my suaveness and wits to convince them that I can use this to my advantage. He starts that pretty early.
Yes. I don't know how long it would take me to realize it. I feel like it would be I don't know that I could survive a Groundhog Day movie type situation. A time.
That's
maybe
the
we should call
problem.
it a
You
time
have
loop.
to survive. You can't not survive. No, I'm calling it a Groundhog Day situation. I have that exact phrase like 6 times in my notes.
Because you reset when you
survive.
die.
Yes.
Yeah, I know.
When you die or go to sleep, depending on the Groundhog Day situation. Now, here's the thing. Here's my number one thing with this movie. When did the movie Groundhog Day come out? 1986?
I'll Google it real quick. You
Just
with your clacky keyboard over there.
Clicky clack. 1993. Okay, I'm wrong. 1993. Still 20 years before this movie comes out, when it's probably set in 2014 approximately, right? You're telling me that either no one has seen Groundhog Day, or we're living in a world that is the same as ours, except an alien asteroid with mimics on it landed. And also the only other difference is that the 1993 movie Groundhog Day starring Bill Murray never came out.
That's not the only time loopy thing, though.
It's the most famous one, IMO. I'm calling this a Groundhog Day situation, not a looper situation. What else is time loopy? Russian Doll, the Natasha Lyonne TV show from 2017, approximately. Off the top of my head, Terminator has time travel, but it's not a loop. Also, I've never seen it.
Source Code.
Never heard of it.
Some of them wouldn't be exactly what I would call
Groundhog Day situations.
Right. Free Guy.
Okay, sure. That came out after this. I've seen that.
Looper, but I don't know that it's not, I wouldn't call that one.
Have not seen it. Is that the one where Joseph Gordon-Levitt rides a bike?
It is the one with Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I don't remember if he rides a bike. That should go on our list. It's a good movie. Doctor Strange. I don't know that it's really a time.
Doctor Strange? Sure. That's a good example.
Deja Vu is a time looper.
Not seen it.
Russian
You're really
Doll.
coming at me with Groundhog Day is the most famous Groundhog Day situation movie? That's a take that you're going to fight?
No, I think maybe it is, but I do want to point out that it is for us, maybe, but it's not the only one. There are a lot of movies that use this.
This is reinforcing my point. No one is like,
nobody
like in
knows
this
what
movie.
a time loop is.
Yes.
Next,
correct.
By the way, also, but
Next with Nick Cage.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, isn't that movie supposed to be like terrible?
I don't know if it's supposed to be terrible or not.
Let's do it.
I didn't really love it.
Pod.
What is your point actually, though?
I couldn't get over the fact that no one was referencing that they were in a Groundhog Day situation.
Oh, like nobody specifically said, like, when he's trying to tell somebody, you remember that movie Groundhog Day?
Oh, like
that's
in
what's
Groundhog
happening.
Day. Yes. So there's an episode of Brooklyn Nine-Nine where it's a memento situation. You know, the tattoo. I have not seen Memento either, the Christopher Nolan movie. And so Jason Mantzoukas' character, whose name I'm not remembering, from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which is insane. Anyway, he's in a memento situation. He is tattooing himself, and Andy Samberg, Jake Peralta, keeps trying to explain to people, yeah, it's like in Memento, and they're all like, what are you talking about? They've not seen Memento. And then a different character goes, it's like a Finding Dory situation, and everyone goes, oh, he has Finding Dory disease. And Jake's like, no, Memento is exactly what this is, and it was a famous movie by a famous director. And that's how it felt to me.
Okay, so my only thought for this, and it may not be right, but it is a possibility, that they don't want to specifically reference Groundhog Day because then you're using something else to date the movie even in more than it is dated, that it will be dated in the future.
I guess.
That's my
it's
only,
probably just like the movie's a little more self-serious than that. It'd be too jokey to reference it, is what I'm assuming.
Yeah.
On day 3 is when he finally starts. Okay, day 2, he's confused. Day 3, he goes crazy. Day 4, he is like, okay, I'm just going to become a good soldier. Like, that's my new shtick. I'm going to make it out of this beach. And he lands in Black Widow mode on the beach.
Yeah.
He does the 3-point land.
He's like, I'm getting this now.
Yeah. So I like that.
How about when one of my favorite times that actually, this is one of the questions is like, and I feel so morbid saying this, what's your favorite death of him? But one of the things I really enjoy is when he dies and Rita comes up and starts stealing his batteries.
Yes, I didn't understand that. I was like, what are these batteries doing? Why does she need more of them? The batteries weren't, the suits, everything the suit could do wasn't fully explained to me. So I didn't totally get it.
You didn't get it at the time, but then after you watch the movie, you're like, oh, that's why that's funny.
No, I never really thought it was that funny. I didn't, I don't have like a specific death to point to. It was just a lot of him being like, okay, I mean, this is attacking me and I'm dying. And so it was like his or their, both of their ambivalence about impending death.
Yeah.
That stuck out to me the most.
That's something I have. But my other, before we get too far off the deaths, I really think that one's funny just because she, ransacks his still living body basically. And then when he rolls underneath the truck.
Which should not have worked.
And he gets squished.
He gets so good at it. It's implied that he does it every day.
Time. Yeah.
And successfully rolls under both sets of wheels as it's passing him.
Yeah.
There's no shot. I mean, I guess Tom Cruise is like 5'4" or something, right? Isn't he super short?
He's 5'7".
Okay.
I know because I looked it up.
I'm sure you did. And so I guess he has more clearance from his feet. And it's a Humvee type of thing. So I guess maybe, but dang. That's the most impressive thing to me. He nails it.
Yeah.
After maybe like once every 6 times, he still dies. And then it just isn't showing us those,
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I am glad that once he finally meets Emily Blunt, he is pretty eyes on the prize. He's like, okay, I have to meet up with her. Like, that's what I'm going to do next. Because he noticed her look at him, recognize him, know that something's different. He's like, oh, it was almost like he knew he was in a movie and he was like, this is the next plot point, is that I have to get Emily Blunt involved with what's going on here.
Did you think it was funny or not funny? Did you think it was weird or whatever that she's like looking at him like that and she's like, find me when you wake up? Did you expect that?
Because again, I thought that she was like a super soldier of some kind, or that she had Groundhog Day power. At first I thought she just also had Groundhog Day powers, and it made sense the way that she was like up on all the billboards. She was sort of set apart from everyone else. It made sense that she would have some kind of different understanding.
Yeah.
And then when he gets in there and she's always like mad that he's interrupting her weird push-up thing or whatever, and he always says he's like, we met, and she says when, he said tomorrow at the beach. And I was like, that's kind of a good line.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty good.
But she pretty much, like, he says 2 things and then she's in. She believes him.
Yeah, right. And because she lived a day also hundreds if not thousands of times. So that kind of has to change your brain chemistry. You start accepting things differently, like time flow. She's been talking about it with Dr. Whitehall and like going through all of the mechanics of it. It's clearly her like life obsession.
Yeah, I also think that builds to how her whole attitude is the first few days that you see her when he's in the time loop before he gets to know her, where she's just very matter-of-factly like, this is what we're doing.
Like you said, disposable.
Yeah. And she doesn't have time to get warm and fuzzy about anything. She's just, this is what we're doing. I don't have time for anything else. I don't have capacity for anything else because we don't have the time to do it.
Well, the way that she is like, okay, we're training, and like they spend, I don't know, days and days, weeks worth of days, him fighting the banana peel helicopter things in her dojo. And she just like very dispassionately kills him over and over again. And so I'm a little confused about the mechanics of the Groundhog Day at this point. Are these each like individual timelines, or then that Emily Blunt is going to go on to her next day and die on the beach every time?
That was a question Jeremy had when we were watching it last night. He's like, it would be like, does this branch off into all of these different timelines? But I don't think for the purposes of this movie, it does.
I think it doesn't necessarily have to, because she closes the loop by dying. So I don't know.
She doesn't die every time he dies.
Not immediately, but she dies on the beach every time she goes to it.
Every time she goes to it. Yeah. Because
of course she does.
Yeah.
I appreciate that that we don't always cut back to him waking up. We cut back to like different points. And so it lets the story progress instead of having to see him go through those same beats in the beginning. I also liked what happened to you happened to me. I had it. I lost it. Like just how efficient they are when they're trying to explain the Groundhog Day parts of things.
I really enjoy how when they meet, as you called him, Dr. Whitehall the first time,
Correct.
and they do the thing with the table, which love those things. And
the number behind his back.
Yeah, I don't know. This is the first time we've had this conversation, which I love the callback to it later on.
Yeah.
But I like how that is a great presentation. This is great. Maybe let's just take this and talk to the general. And she's like, been there, done that, dissection, and the other thing, psych ward or whatever. Yeah. So I just feel like this follows up what you said about how efficient they are at explaining things. So she told him all of that on the walk over there. And then you see him start to slip back into his like marketing guy.
Yeah. Yes.
Because this is like overwhelming information.
Yeah.
And then she's like, nope, that's not how it works. And she's really a driving force that keeps him moving forward and on point every time.
Otherwise, he gets intellectually lazy with it. He just wants there to be a simple answer. He just wants to like push to the next thing. Yeah. And she's like, no, we have to take all the steps.
So I have like, they do the whole training thing and she kills him a bunch of times because she says, just for our listeners, if you weren't aware, him dying is what resets the timeline. If he doesn't die and he bleeds out, it won't reset. Because
too much of his blood will have been diluted by other people's blood.
Yes.
And can I just say that I like the whole concept. I like the idea of it's like Groundhog Day, but instead of learning to play piano, he's learning how to kill aliens. That's kind of fun. And he plays it pretty well. And he's like able to be pitiful and like, no, I can feel my toes, and they kill him. Like, that's kind of fun. But I'm really supposed to believe that one alien was killed. He killed one alien by holding a claymore on his chest, and some blood spattering through the air and hitting him in the face means that now he forever has Groundhog Day powers until blood stuff happens again. Like the whole time controlling power is from what? 200 droplets of blood that are soaking in through his skin.
We only saw what fell on his face though.
Yeah. Right. I'm trying to be generous.
Big and like dropped all over him, I gotta say. Also, those effects of it like seeping into his skin.
It curdles his face kind of. Yeah.
That was pretty cool. Cool.
It's a little suspension of disbelief.
That's true.
The power is transferring just through the touch of blood. I mean, most diseases don't even work that way. Is this an Ebola situation?
It is science fiction, Rogge. They are aliens.
But science fiction and fantasy stories work best when the powers and knowledge and magic are codified and logical and consistent, right? Star Wars works when the Force works in a logical, consistent way. When you start adding in new Force powers randomly or Force powers work differently, that's when people start rolling their eyes and they're like, okay, come on, like we had a set of rules. It's the same in Harry Potter. It's the same in Aragon or Inheritance or anything else.
Are you saying that the blood isn't a consistent set of rules?
No, it is. It's just a flimsy one.
Okay, so you're just not happy with the strength of it.
I want there to be rules. I want to be able to follow it logically, and it's a real arrow. It's a razor thin line to walk to get from one step to the next. You can do it, but it's a little like, okay, like I'm supposed to believe that it was just the blood flying through the air and that's how it interacts with the physiology of a human being too. Like all of this stuff. And it's exactly a day and it's exactly to sleep. Like,
is it exactly a day though?
I think you're right. As I said that, it's probably not exactly a day. Okay. What do you think of him? Okay. Wait, stop. Have you tried like, all the options?
Yeah.
You know, all the options. And she goes, oh, you're talking about sex. Yes.
I've tried it. Thank you.
But have you tried it like a bunch of times?
Yes. I love the way, so there was a deleted scene that was like the same dialogue, but it was just a different setup, different blocking and everything. And I'm so glad that they went with the one that they did because it just fits so much better because she's like, yes, again, and clicks the thing like,
yeah,
it's like you said, he tries to be lazy about it and she's that driving force. She's like, no, keep going.
I don't know if that's laziness. I mean, that's just
Well,
him shooting his shot, kind of.
which I agree. Shoot your
Yeah.
shot. That's fine.
Emily Blunt is gorgeous in this film. It's
She is.
in like a very who is it from Terminator? Sarah Connor, like very like ripped, you know, kind of like sweaty, dirty army, but like clearly a beautiful woman sort of way.
She is amazing in this movie. She's one of my favorite things about it. Yeah, but she's also like, keep it going. Don't have time for the sex.
Yeah, don't have time.
It's not going to work. I've tried it.
But also, in another way, have infinite time. We kind of have infinite days to keep doing this.
I think because she lived through it before, she realizes that every day
is a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Not to just be used for pleasure.
Or not to just be blown away. Like, it has to have a purpose, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a little deep. But here's the deep thing I do have out of this. I guess the assumption is every time they do the training, if she doesn't kill him, they end up on the beach and they die and reset the day anyways. Yeah. Right? So once they decide he needs to get to the dam because he's having the visions, what I really wrote down is he has the benefit of muscle memory from his day. Like, he knows what he's doing because repetition. Yeah. But she is learning it every day.
Absolutely. That was my next note
left,
too.
Duck right, or whatever that one was.
Yes.
Step right, duck left, or whatever. And she's like, you have to be specific. But I'm like, dang, that's like cramming at the ultimate level. And to be able to process it and then execute on that, like, that's a lot. Because she doesn't necessarily have, like, her muscle memory isn't taking over and making her do these things successfully. She has the fitness from doing it before.
Right. She's done it before, so she's good at stuff. But I totally agree. It almost seems like she's learning and remembering stuff day to day because she clicks into it so fast. She trusts him, and then she's all about it, and she pours everything into the study. But it is impressive that she's memorizing all of that every day. And then it's more and more every day as they learn more and more stuff from the day before.
There's a very large amount of trust in that. I mean, if you don't, you die, you reset, but still they develop a rapport very quickly because she doesn't know him at the beginning of every day.
Right. So they do a lot of showing us him grabbing her arm, pulling her back, wait, okay, now go, like both in civilian scenes and in beach scenes, which I think is good to emphasize that. Yes, she is like probably better at fighting if you just put them hand-to-hand combat in a ring, but he's the one that gets to do that every day. And she's good at trusting him to know that he knows the situation better than she does.
Yeah, I really appreciate that about the movie. He does get to a point where he's like, screw this. I'm out of here.
He goes to the pub. It didn't show him getting off base. And I wanted them to show what his strategy was for stealing a motorcycle or whatever.
I think they just didn't have time, but yeah, that would have been interesting.
The whole point of a movie like this is to kind of see the details. It's to kind of see the little progressions. I mean, the most fun stuff is him. Griff is working on a flush, spades, no clubs. Like it's the little stuff.
So I've been over there more times than anybody. And then he's in London, right? And London gets invaded.
Correct.
And then he ends up. So this is another point that I really liked. They end up at the farmhouse. I don't want to skip over stuff you have if you have some other stuff.
I do just have this. So once they get to the farmhouse, we're kind of done with beach fight scenes for the most part. Eventually they stop taking us back to the beach fight part specifically. The action in this movie is good. I mean, it's definitely impressive, like the stuff that they're doing. Once they're in the mechs, and I don't know if it's something wrong with my screen or something. Everything's just a little dark right now in all the movies I'm watching. The darkness, and then the camera is pretty shaky, like quite a bit. It's pretty shaky cam and pretty chop cuts, like boom, 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 boom. It can be hard for me to lock into what I'm seeing. Like, okay, which character is this and what are they doing? Oh, we're already off to someone else because it's cutting so fast that it probably is more impressive than I was able to appreciate because my eyes couldn't take in the information efficiently enough. Do you love the action?
I do. I feel like there's so much to watch. that you
There's
miss
more
it.
than I can watch.
Well, I think that's why I end up watching it whenever it's on, because I just get sucked in to whatever's happening.
Yeah. It's like they're moving faster than people can move versus like, there's other movies with a lot of action hand-to-hand combat that I like. I mean, Lord of the Rings or something, but they're just, slashing like like fast for people versus like, I mean, at a certain point, it just becomes
It's not like
flashing
sped
colors
up, but it's filmed in a way that they're very fast, and there's a lot of movement. So the camera's moving and the people are moving.
Correct.
So you get caught in it, I think.
Overwhelming for me slightly.
I think that's very fair.
Your mileage may vary on that part of it. They get to the farm. Well, before they get to the farmhouse, they get to the trailer park.
Yes.
And he reminds her, detach the caravan. And then she immediately does not. And I was like, come on, you're better than this.
Yeah. And I made that comment. I'm like, she was like, ugh, whatever. When he reminds her.
Yes.
But then she doesn't detach it.
And
as Jeremy and I were watching this.
Yeah.
And he's like, after we get to the little hook later on, which was a very like jarring experience, we're like, well, how many times have they been there already?
Yeah.
And how many times did she forget to attach it? And I said, well, he said they had tried everything but
right. So is he lying? Is he lying
Jeremy's
to
like,
keep up the facade?
Yeah. He's like, he doesn't want to say.
Because that's how good he's suave. He's a liar. He's a professional liar. That's marketing. I do like the radio being on while they're driving. And if you are in a vehicle, please lock doors and stay inside.
Doors are blown
and there's no
out.
doors.
Yep.
That's pretty good. When they're at the farmhouse and they find the helicopter, he insists. He's like, look, you cannot survive this. No matter what, you die every time. I try everything. There's nothing I can do about it.
Wait, I don't want to skip over.
Okay.
I don't want to skip over the conversation on the road where he's like, you lost your brother. And she's like, that's not my middle name. And
yeah.
So
I didn't care about any of this.
No,
it didn't come back. We hadn't been laying the groundwork for this being like any kind of romantic. It didn't.
How about not even romantic, but just like a friendship?
The problem is that the entire time that they're having this conversation, I'm thinking, how much gas is really in that minivan? Like, you're only going to make it so far. And then how are you going to go to a gas station? Aren't you in mainland France? How are there other cars on the road? Because a car passes them at one point. And isn't France entirely mimic occupied territory? Maybe a car doesn't pass them. Maybe I just imagined a car passing them. I'm very concerned about the logistical details of their mission.
So you got pulled completely out of the conversation.
Yes.
Which is like, was she lying to him?
We have been all business all the time.
Right. Why are we dropping the conversation
If we had seen her shooting him, but he's also trying to be like, what's your mom's maiden name? Or like, where'd you go to third grade? Like, if he'd been trying to like clearly like fighting against a brick wall, trying to like have some sort of like conversational relationship stuff, and then he finally broke through, it would have meant more to me. But we went straight to him being like, so did you know we're friends? And she's like, shut up, I hate you. Okay,
I'll buy that. I think it's interesting.
I'm glad it worked for you. I mean, I knew what they were going for.
Well, I was just super curious of what were lies and what is real. And how do you know, not even if it's a romantic relationship, but just any kind of relationship at all? Because you would think that these romanticized feelings develop naturally for him, but obviously, because she's literally the only person that knows what he's going through, one, can empathize with what he's going through, and two, he's spending all of his time with.
Yeah.
So
but she can't be developing feelings the same way because she's just meeting him that day in every version.
Right.
So it's like Quill and Gamora when Gamora comes back from the alternate timeline in Endgame. And he's like, I still love you. And she's like, I don't know you. I'm not the same Gamora you fell in love with.
Which is very unrequited lovey there. But I don't know that I would call it love where we're at right now in this movie, but I would definitely say there's a relationship like a friendship, even relationship, not even romantic, but until she kisses him.
Yeah. Well, and then, Palm Springs. That's another Groundhog Day movie. I forgot about Palm Springs. But like in that movie, it sort of gets into the whole, it's almost like consent, right? When you're like, okay, how many times have you used that line on me in your previous Groundhog Day-ing scenarios? Because Andy Samberg has slept with everyone at that wedding, men and women at a certain point, X number of times. And then that's violating once you actually find out about it, if you get brought in. So it's a little bit the opposite for me, because she's kind of violated. They're at the farmhouse and she's like, how many times have we been here? How many times have we been here? And he's, it's 3 sugars, right? Like, let's just go. And she goes, what? Go back to the farmhouse, sit by the fire, open a bottle of wine. And he's like, I mean, you said it.
Do you think they ever did that in one of the timelines or one of the loops?
No,
I don't think so.
I think
either.
that it's a Nexus event. It's from a Doctor Strange, Rachel dying. They can't go back and do that because her personality is to be 100% laser focused on the mission and get these helicopter keys flying to the dam.
I don't understand why he can't fight this and say, you die, which he does say, but at that point she's so mad that she's not even listening anymore.
She doesn't care about dying.
She doesn't, but I don't understand why he can't say, like, let's try this other, whatever he was going to do with the gas and take it to wherever to keep going.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we try that?
You're right. She does get too hyper-focused on it has to be the helicopter in a way that I don't understand.
And then they die.
Yep.
Again.
Yep.
Okay, you had farmhouse stuff, and I just didn't know if maybe we stepped on it.
No, that was it. I mean, it was just that, like, him trying to flirt with her and, like, tend her wound. And then it's like you said, how much is he lying? How much is she lying about whether or not it's true? What's the name that he drops at one point? And she's like, don't ever talk about him again. He's like, did you love him? Like, were you, whatever.
Yeah. So then he decides, screw it. Everybody's dying. I'm doing this alone.
Yeah.
And we see him. This is one of the scenes I really like where the guy's setting him up in the mech suit. And he's like, I need an extra battery. I need this. I need this. I need this. He's like, where's your helmet? And he's like, the helmet's a distraction. And like,
pretty good.
He's all business. He goes in, does the thing. And then he ends up making it to the dam by himself.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say, he's getting farther and farther into the dam. He finally finds a mimic, isn't getting attacked by him, and finds an alpha who's encroaching on him. And he just stands there for a while. And the whole time I'm thinking, Tom Cruise, you need to jump off this bridge and kill yourself. That's the whole point of the mission. You know this isn't where the Omega is now. You cannot risk compromise by losing your Groundhog Day abilities. You have to kill yourself. I thought it was going to suck the time travel out of him.
I remember the first time watching this being really worried about that part because, like you just said, he has to die to reset.
He's bad. He should kill himself more. We never see him kill himself. We see him let the mimics kill him without fighting it, but we never see him pistol under the chin. And I get that that's gruesome for a PG-13 movie. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's the whole conceit. But realistically it is unacceptable that he didn't jump off and land head first on the ground.
Yeah. I agree.
Should have done it.
I think he was processing, which I recognize, but dude, you were going to die. Like, we have the benefit of not having all the adrenaline and everything like he would be having in that situation. But still, it took me a minute to understand that the one mimic was trapping him,
right? Forcing
him to go towards the alpha.
Yeah.
And then he gets caught in the thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where are you going? You're right. And I'm getting really anxious, and then he drowns, and I'm like, oh, okay, good. Which makes me feel kind of bad, but good.
No, he has to. He has to. Right. I was annoyed that he wasn't sooner.
So then
I have a question. It's not time sensitive at all, so we can definitely jump to your question.
Oh, no, I was just going to go to the next part where they decide that the Omega is not there.
Do you notice that he has different facial hair in different scenes?
No,
He's clean shaven sometimes and has stubble sometimes.
I did not notice that.
I'm just wondering how much money and effort they had to put into maintaining his facial hair continuity.
How much facial hair difference?
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at Jeremy and he has a 5 o'clock shadow, like literally a 5 o'clock shadow when he shaves that morning.
Yeah.
So some facial hair would not surprise me depending on where we are at in the day.
Right. And so it's just like they had to put a lot of effort to making sure he has the right amount of stubble. He's halfway to a 5 o'clock shadow. It's just coming in a little bit.
Oh.
It's a lot of effort.
Well,
to
I would
make
have
sure
to
that
go back and
continuity is
watch the
maintained.
movie for consistency. Like, does he
Oh,
have the
such a
right facial
chore for
amount
you.
hair at the right time?
Yeah.
Before I get into that question.
I just noticed that it was different in different scenes. I was like, okay, it's a good touch.
Jared, did you notice that? His facial hair is different lengths and different. Okay, Jeremy didn't notice.
That's why I'm the GOAT at watching movies.
Okay.
Okay. So it's called a transponder, huh?
Which I have so many thoughts about this.
It's bad. It's a bad name.
Bad name. One, how do you know it doesn't work? It's experimental.
Right? What?
That doesn't work. He says it multiple times. She picks it up and she's like, let's just, at the very beginning, the first day, she picks up, she's like, let's just stab him with this. And he's like, it doesn't work. And,
Yeah.
I don't understand that whole thing. But then we get back to the general again because they're going to go find this transponder. Is that what you said? Transponder?
Yes. Transmogrifier.
I do
this
like
MacGuffiner.
This part where I assume they've progressed more towards this training commentary versus here's what we're going to do. When they were training to go out onto the beach, they have the maps and they're like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And you see the maps get like more full every time they do it.
Yeah.
But in this instance, they're walking together. And this is where, like you said, he's pulling on her jacket a little bit. He's like, keep your head down, do this. And she's again, props to her. She's literally processing all of this as they are doing it, which just speaks to the trust that she has in the process, I think.
Do you remember Parasite last week where they stop and she goes, okay, wait, and sings a little song to remember all the details about her job?
Loved that. Yeah, I think it's like, there's a lot of, it's easy to say, oh, it's just a fun movie. But if you think about it, like, that's a lot of strengths. Anyways, they meet the general. I can't tell if they're playing good cop, bad cop here, or if Rita's just over this and she's like, we have to get it. Let's go.
I think it's that. I think they're playing that up. It's like, look here, she's got a gun on you. Like, it's no longer good cop, bad cop. It's just, you're going to die or you're not,
And he's like, let me talk to him. I think we can work this through.
He gives it up. Mad Eye Moody gives it up too easily. His character is too stubborn. It made me, because at first you're like, oh, he recognizes what's at stake. He really does care about the fate of humanity. It's going to show, the kind of flexibility that is acceptable for a general, but not for a low-level sergeant, by thinking on his feet and adapting to this new information he's getting. Because they present it pretty effectively, right? They know about the phone call and about his notes and all his secretary and all that stuff. They're convincing. And I was like, nice, he's going to like realize it. But then he tries to get them killed by having the guys outside shoot them and everything. So I don't know why he gave it to him, really.
I don't understand that either.
Just because she had the gun on him.
I don't understand why he didn't give it to him. I don't understand his motivations at all.
He's an idiot.
Like, who cares if you, first of all, let me reset. Why do you have it in the safe if you don't care about it?
True.
Why are you giving it to him if you don't want to give it to him? Just have him arrested and be done with it.
Why not give it to him, though? What's the downside?
Well, that's the other thing. Why not give it to him? Why, if you don't care about it, why not?
I think it's this guy that he hates so much, and it's a pride thing. Or I'm not going to let this guy that I sent to the front lines, that threatened me, that blackmailed me, I'm not going to let him get one up on anything that he says. Is I'm going to do the opposite.
Okay. That's the best motivation I can understand for him.
Yeah.
the most
I wasn't
believable.
sure if there was some kind of B plot about the adaptability versus hubris of high-ranking military personnel, but I don't think it really came through entirely for me.
So then they're in the car, they're getting, I don't remember the first time they die, but I remember they die a little bit. And then do we only see, I think we see them trying to escape a couple times from the general.
Like on foot and stuff. I only remember them escaping and then getting into the car.
And then
They crash
crashing.
into a guy in one of the jackets. And the whole time they're in the car, I'm like, guys, in a car is not a good place to successfully die. It's a good place to get really injured.
Yeah. And why didn't you just stab yourself with the thing right then?
Yeah. Well, he did. He stabbed himself in the leg in the car.
Oh, that's right. Jeremy was like, why didn't he just do it in the office? But
in the office, true.
My point is, you don't know what's going to happen. So
right.
You want to remove as many variables as possible.
You don't know if it's going to suck the powers out of you or something.
Or just put you in a comatose position for like 20 minutes or something. Like you just don't know. I don't know. Anyways.
It's all experimental. It's never worked before.
It's all experimental.
You need a live alpha. What was the plan if they didn't have someone in the Groundhog Day situation? Were they going to hook it to an alpha and then plug the red, white, and yellow into a USB or into like a TV, like RCA cables or something, and watch him have those visions?
I have no clue. They don't even tell it. Like they don't.
They just yada over the tech. They're like, okay, we got the MacGuffin. That gives us the location of the Omega. Now we're in the end game.
Yeah.
I wasn't happy that his powers got sucked out, but I liked the feeling of, okay, now it's for real. Now it's for keeps. This is his last try.
Yeah. How did you feel about, first of all, holy cow, strong lady flipping that table back up after
I think that's a leverage thing. I don't think it's that. She is strong. I mean, we know that about her. But I think she's like, once you get, you can sort of
the right amount of leverage.
Just a deadlift.
I will buy that. Yeah. I've seen it work in real life. It just seemed very, it would take me a lot to figure that out. And she just does it very effortlessly. And then she's about to kill him and he's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Which props to her for listening to him because he does that a lot.
And she often,
And so they get back to the base because this is all the same day still.
It's got to be.
So they get back to the base and they're trying to figure out where they go next and how they're going to get there. And they decide to basically pull in J-Squad.
Yeah, got to convert them, which is so good. It had been building to this. I didn't realize it was building to this or that I wanted it, but I did want it once it was happening. And I was glad he was doing it. He was using all the information he learned about them. I didn't like that they didn't show most of it. You cut pretty quickly cut to J-Squad being like, oh, and he knew this about me and that about me and this about me. And I wanted him to be doing that. Why not show me that?
I think maybe it's because they needed to believe it amongst themselves versus him just delivering it.
They're like his prophets.
Yeah.
His true believers. Yeah. It was pretty good.
And I really appreciated when they're like, so we're just supposed to follow you? Like, what the heck? And this is where they know their strengths. Tom and Emily, or Bill and Rita. He's like, no, I don't want you to follow me. He's like, I know that would be crazy, but you'll follow her. And she's like, okay, we can work with this. Also, she's not fawning over them to convince them to follow her either.
Right. And they only kind of barely do because they want to call her Full Metal. And he's like, Angel Verdun, right? That's what we call her.
Yeah.
I don't really have any other notes. Honestly, we go to the end. My only real note is that it's confusing to me that they brought our J-Squad boys in, made us invest in them emotionally a little bit, and immediately killed them all.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately most of them.
Half of them at least.
Brief beat, kill the rest of them and try to give them a little bit of a send-off. But none of them made it any farther into the Louvre with them.
Nobody did. They all died. So I didn't...
Yeah.
The first time I watched, I probably did not really... I don't remember comprehending him saying, I'm going to take this and run and you kill the Omega.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I'll be the distraction. You kill the Omega.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are we doing this? And then it occurred to me because he's still injured. He can't run as fast as she can. So she's going to pull she's going to pull the alien really far away when he can jump in. And also, I'm still like, you've made it this far. Why are you being slow, even though you have an injured leg that's probably broken in 8 places or something? Like,
yeah, it's got to be just physical inability to run faster. Yeah. He does a good job of, it's very self-sacrifice. Him holding all the grenade pins was cool. But I mean, yeah, he jumps in, he drops the grenades in. There wasn't a big explosion. I thought there'd be a bigger explosion.
I don't know what explosions look like underwater in realistic.
Yeah, true.
Plus, it was definitely encapsulated. They fall through the cracks of the craps. They fall through
right
the
through his
cracks of that Omega. So how much of that internalizes?
Contained it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I don't know about that. Did you expect him to die?
No, I wanted yes. Okay. Yes. I wanted him to be dead. I did not like that she kissed him. I wanted it to just be like, we were co-workers on the most important mission in military history and maybe in another life, that kind of thing. I didn't like that she kissed him.
I think she did that for him, not for her.
I guess, but when else has she been doing stuff for him and not for her,
I think
is
it's
that in character for her?
This is the last time. Like, she knows he's not coming back. They're going to die.
There was the time that she said her middle name to him too, I guess. After that helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of wanted them to just be dead. I wanted it to be like, look, it was worth it to make this sacrifice for all of humanity.
And
I also don't understand
the after effects of how the bomb worked, or killing the Omega worked, or whatever.
Power down.
Yeah.
I didn't like him coming back. I think they should have just been dead. Because then we cut back and they're doing the same thing, but from the version of, okay, all the aliens are already dead. We're just going to send our troops in to do cleanup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're starting from the beach. I didn't quite buy that. Like, if they know they're all dead, why wouldn't they just drop them into the most important locations? Or they should just start at the beach and work your way there.
I didn't buy
infrastructure reason
that they would be saying that on TV to everybody before going and investigating anything.
Yeah. I guess you just got to keep morale high. It's the entire world that's hanging on your every word. But so am I supposed to believe that he had some time travel left in him still? Did the aliens just do this for him as a gift? Did they reset time like that for the whole world and that's just part of them dying? The mechanics of how it worked don't make any sense to me. What exactly happened? How did he wake up at that time? That was never a thing before.
I don't have the answer to that. And I remembered I was going to Google it last night and I got tired and went to bed.
Some Reddit threads theorizing about the end of Edge of Tomorrow. Okay, doesn't this movie have another subtitle?
Live, Die, Repeat.
Live, Die, Repeat. Edge of Tomorrow, Live, Die, Repeat?
Yeah.
That's a pretty long title. I get it. Edge of Tomorrow is kind of a fun title, I guess. He is always on the edge of tomorrow. So, did you like the movie, Jess?
I love the movie.
It's a top 5 for you.
Top 5, I don't know, probably. I watch it every time it's on. I really like it. I really can't explain. I mean, I talked about the reasons I liked it, but there's nothing that stands out where I'm like, this is the most amazing movie. This movie is not for everybody, but I like it. I love it. Good.
I don't fully understand what it's about. Like, if there's a message, I guess that's not true. It's about not taking life and death for granted. It's about the scarcity of time, maybe, and using your time efficiently to try to do lasting good, maybe. And also belief in your fellow man.
I kind of like the bit and I don't know how directly tied to the movie this is, but there's definitely a cycle here. And there is in Groundhog Day as well, but the
Hmm.
whole like, oh, this is interesting, let's just do this a little bit. And then you get burnt out and you get not desperate, but like hopeless, I guess, without
Hmm.
hope.
Hmm.
And nothing changes, nothing's changing. And then what else do? You have to keep moving forward because doing nothing didn't do anything for you.
Hmm. It's the importance of practice and also kind of a meta commentary on the importance of a plot moving forward in a story.
Well, or even just in life, like you go through hard times and it gets really depressive and annoying, but what else are you going to do? You can't do anything else. You have to keep going. We didn't talk about this, but I liked the way the mimics moved, like
Yep.
flipping through the air versus like walking, if you will, although that would have been their version
They
of
did
walking.
flip through the air. I had a hard time nailing down what they even looked like because everything was just moving so fast. But yeah, they're pretty cool.
It is a
I
very
just hate their
different
name.
mimic. Yeah. Well, let's ask you, Rogi, what did
Hmm.
you think? Would you watch again?
I thought it was good. I thought it was fun. I probably would watch again. Just some of that, like, it's kind of an Easter eggy. Like once you know what's happening, you can, see this in a different light and see it again. You're not surprised, but there's a different sort of enjoyment to get from that. I think Rachel would like it. I think she would enjoy watching it with me, which she did not get to yesterday. I'm not going to watch it again next week necessarily, but yeah, I thought it was good. I enjoyed it. I liked. I don't know if I would have enjoyed it as much if I wasn't paralleling it to Groundhog Day and like how they handled it. And it's like you're learning piano, you're learning how to shoot a gun. Also, Palm Springs and Russian Doll. So it's a cool genre if you're doing it thoughtfully. And I thought Emily Blunt was really beautiful, and Tom Cruise did a good job too.
So they said those suits weighed between like 80 to 150 pounds, depending on what they needed it to do.
Wow.
And they actually, like, they made suits that they wore during filming.
Did they have hydraulics in them that helped them move? They had to.
Yeah, I think like a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's impressive. I mean, Tom Cruise, he goes for it. I respect that about him as an actor is that he does the stunts and he cares about the capital M movies and cinema and all that stuff. So
Yep.
and he does some acting. It's not just him flying around the whole time.
Yeah. He
So.
definitely, if you don't watch a lot of Tom Cruise movies, you said, but
Accurate.
there are things that string through all of his movies, like the way he says certain things.
Yeah.
Which I think are really fun. And I think when you watch one of his movies, it's going to be maybe not like the best personally to you, but it's going to be good usually. Like
There's like a high floor.
Yeah.
Well, if you have strong opinions about the floor versus ceiling of Tom Cruise films, about the feasibility of deleting Groundhog Day from American popular culture, or about whether or not we talked enough about Dr. Murray Bauman. Oh, what's the actor's actual name from Stranger Things? Murray. I'm doing a very bad job of Googling this. He's played by Brett Gelman. Brett Gelman would have been a good person to cast in that role as well.
Is he the Papa guy?
No, this is the bald guy with the big beard and the curly hair, the Jewish conspiracy theory guy.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like he's kind of like a wide-eyed, like conspiracy theory sort of thing. If you have thoughts on any of that, please contact us. Let us know what you're thinking, how you're feeling. Leave us a review, 5 stars. And hit us up at social media at Flabberpod. That's the only way to contact us, right, Jess?
If you want to call and leave us a voicemail or a text message,
Call me, beat me if you want to reach me.
240 movie 76. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening.
Bye.